actually less than 15 minutes of dinosaur footage in this 2-hour, 6-minute dinosaur movie. I don't care. Hello, Canada, and the world at large. This is Lane from Canada. The 1990s was one of the last decades to understand that at least half of a great science fiction movie's intention was to be a magical experience. And nobody understood that more than Steven Spielberg before he got all Bridges of Spies and The Fabelmans on us. It's the 30th anniversary of a true cinematic milestone, and I can't think of a better film for our 30th episode. I've been a dinosaur nut since kindergarten, so this movie was pure Hollywood gold to little 12-year-old me back in 1993. Welcome to Before Movies Sucked, and this is Jurassic Park. Following one of those pesky workplace mishaps we've all had wherein a zookeeper gets eaten alive by a dinosaur, billionaire entrepreneur John Hammond invites several experts and legal advisors to his Costa Rican island resort, Jurassic Park, to sign off on a security inspection. The party includes corporate lawyer Donald Gennaro, mathematician Ian Malcolm, paleobotanist Ellie Sattler, paleontologist Alan Grant, and Hammond's own grandchildren Lex and Tim, possibly in a subtly sinister attempt to leave them out of the will. After revealing to his odd guests that the park features living dinosaurs cloned from DNA found in fossilized mosquitoes, Hammond sends them on an automated tour. As one does when hosting VIP guests for a luxury weekend getaway on a remote island full of carnivorous dinosaurs the size of buildings, Hammond immediately vacates his entire staff from the island, including, researchers, veterinarians, cooks, maintenance personnel, domestic staff, armed security, all that peripheral jazz. This business-savvy decision leaves only himself, his game warden Robert Muldoon, and 2 technicians, Ray Arnold and Dennis Nedry, to hold down the fort for the entire weekend.
But why?
The only explanation we were given for this is a single line from Nedry about the control room being able to automate the entire park for 3 days, but unless there's some housekeeping robots we aren't shown, they better hope that Consuela didn't lock up the linen closet, pantry, and extra toilet paper on her way out the door.
No, doggy afuera.
The tour is disappointing as they only encounter a sick Triceratops. Ellie stays behind to assess the dinosaur with the park vet, Dr. Harding, and no, Ellie, don't, oh. Okay, I don't want to go all CinemaSins on you here, but this is for the purpose of avoiding serious health hazards. As a quote-unquote medical professional who grew up assisting with the childbirth of livestock, I can assure you that that is not the correct way to doff and discard a fecally contaminated examination sleeve. Ellie has at least 1 doctorate and extensive knowledge of toxicology. She should know that. Did she miss the chapter on Typhoid Mary? Compounding the brilliance of Hammond's relax I got this strategy, the island is quickly pummeled by a tropical storm. Meanwhile, the disgruntled Nedry enacts a partial shutdown of the park's security systems, which secretly includes the electric fencing around the dinosaur paddocks. Claiming this is just routine system maintenance, he steals frozen dinosaur embryos and plans to discreetly deliver them to Hammond's competitor, Louis Dodgson, who had to be recast in Jurassic World Dominion because the original actor got busted attempting to get to Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile island or something. Yeah, Hollywood people suck. Nedry attempts to deliver the world's most valuable Barbasol shaving cream to a contact on the departing staff boat before returning to turn the system back on, but he wipes out in the storm and gets eaten by a Dilophosaurus who was apparently hybridized with Frank the frill-necked lizard from the Rescuers Down Under. But now a reversible shutdown strands the guests outside of the Tyrannosaur paddock, and oh yeah, and then this happens. Making an entrance, baby, that's how you do it. Oh yeah, and then this happens. Possibly the most iconic on-screen death scene in film history. Still feeling a mite peckish, Rexy then proceeds to demolish the vehicle Lex and Tim are hiding in. Grant and Malcolm manage to rescue the kids by distracting her with flares, but Malcolm is injured and knocked out, while Grant is forced to flee deeper into the park with Lex and Tim. Muldoon and Ellie attempt to rescue the others in a jeep, but only manage to save Malcolm before Rexy pursues them, forcing them to abandon the hunt. After being initially standoffish, Grant slowly bonds with the children who are now relying on him for protection, but is forced to lead them on a dangerous trek through the park with the freed dinosaurs now able to roam wherever they like. Meanwhile, Hammond decides to use the official IT philosophy.
Hello, IT? Have you tried turning it off and on again?
The full shutdown succeeds in wiping out Nedry's program, and Ray goes to a maintenance shed to reset the circuit breakers, because this was the time before Samuel L. Jackson was a big enough star to merit being eaten by a dinosaur on screen.
We're gonna seal off this.
Okay, actually we were supposed to see Ray get eaten, but the very real Hurricane Inika hit the Kauai filming location, preventing him from traveling back to the island for his shooting schedule. But it all worked out because we ended up getting possibly the most iconic off-screen death scene in film history.
Oh, Mr. Arnold.
When Ray fails to return, Ellie and Muldoon venture out to reset the breakers themselves. However, they are horrified to discover that the shutdown allowed even the most secure paddock to be breached, unleashing the park's 3 most vicious and intelligent dinosaurs, a pride of velociraptors that are actually Deinonychuses but are now famously erroneously known around the world as velociraptors because Michael Crichton thought the name was cooler. If you want a more accurate size depiction of a real velociraptor, watch 65 with Adam Driver, which I maintain was an underrated father-daughter survival story, and which also more accurately depicts a velociraptor's attempt to eat someone as a minor inconvenience.
Merciful moonbeams! That gotta hurt!
Yeah, if a grown man can't fight off something that was literally the size of a butterball turkey, you probably deserve to lose an arm to it. While Muldoon distracts one of the raptors that are hunting them, Ellie resets the breakers, but almost kills Tim in the process as he was scaling over the intact perimeter fence when the power was turned back on. Ellie is then almost killed by a raptor, but manages to evade it and shuts it in the maintenance bunker. Muldoon meets his own untimely end when attempting to hunt one of the raptors, when he is ambushed by the most intelligent alpha of the pride, whom he had reverently referred to as the Big One. However, as this movie is apparently masterful at death scenes, we ended up getting possibly the most iconic death line in film history.
Clever girl.
Well, that wasn't very nice after all the healthy respect Muldoon had always shown to her. Here's a more likable Song of the South kid with a piece of advice Muldoon really could have used 30 years ago.
Self-defense. If a man ever tries to get you, just get him right here and go.
Believing they've found relative safety, Grant leaves Lex and Tim in the visitor's center and goes to look for the others. However, Lex and Tim realize that a velociraptor has infiltrated the building and flee to a darkened kitchen to hide.
It's just the 2 raptors, right? You sure the 3rd one's contained?
Okay, let's just pause that for a second. So, maybe it's a reasonable assumption that you're only facing 2 raptors, but you're also going out into Dinosaur Death Island with 4 human hands, only 2 of which are currently holding a Frankie Spaz 12. I'm all for the resurgence of masculine heroes in film, but for Pete's sake, give Ellie a gun! I saw an M16 on that rack. Arm her up and let's go.
Yes. Unless I figured out how to open doors.
Stop! Pause again. I don't have another point to make. Ellie just looks really hot in this scene. I've called the Lucky Star scene in Alien the greatest silent terror scene of all time, but this one's pretty dang good too. I like the multiple bluffs and close calls, particularly Lex's reflection distracting the raptor, and Tim only escaping detection because the raptor confuses itself by causing a clatter of falling cookware. We even get a moment of heroism from Lex, drawing the raptor's attention to save Tim. Also, it's pretty epic that the first raptor to be killed in the movie dies because it ran headlong into a melting walk-in freezer, which is the Spielbergian equivalent of slipping on a banana peel. Also, now I'm really curious. The freezer door was open. Did Consuela forget to close it before she got on the boat, or did Hammond leave it open after he had his Biden eats ice cream moment the night before?
You ain't black.
So, the one raptor gives itself a stainless steel CTE, and Lex and Tim lock the other one in the freezer to either suffer an excruciatingly drawn-out death over a matter of weeks as it tries to subsist on the rotten food all around it, most likely finally succumbing to food poisoning, or a rather quick Ice Age death, all depending on whether or not the kitchen breaker needed to be reset when the power came back on. It's a lingering cinematic mystery, baby. The children are found by Grant and Ellie and fall back to the control room to reboot the security system. The raptor pursues them, forcing our plucky hacker heroine Lex to reboot the system alone, while Grant and Ellie try to hold the unlocked door closed.
It's a Unix system.
Lex successfully locks the raptor out and restores the power, allowing Hammond to call for a rescue. Because apparently everyone on the mainland was cool with losing all contact with a billionaire on Dinosaur Death Island for 24 hours after a hurricane.
Our friend's a billionaire. You know what happens when you misplace one?
The raptor breaches the windows, forcing our heroes to flee through the vents and into the museum entrance. The raptor pursues them as they escape onto the dinosaur skeleton displays, while the third raptor also joins the hunt from outside. Oh yeah, and then this happens!
After careful consideration, I've decided not to endorse your park.
So have I.
on a helicopter and leave. The end. I feel I've been more snarky than usual with this one, but we only ball bust the things we love. It's a guy thing. I love Jurassic Park. Where do we even start with a movie like this? Made a ton of money. We all know that. We also know the story is pretty straightforward. John Williams' score is fantastic. The dialogue and characters are nothing to write home about, and there's not even any performances that really stand out as exceptional, although plenty of them are still highly memorable.
So you two, dig up dinosaurs?
Well,
Try to.
Believe it or not, one of the things I love about this movie is the costuming. Adventure characters are historically colorful personalities, and they're most often given a distinctive look. In film, this is more commonly seen on sexy archaeologists than on paleontologists, but I like the simple touch of having Grant, Ellie, Malcolm, Hammond, and Muldoon all dressed with a single prominent color, with styles of clothing that reflect the personality and background of each one. Also, Grant gets a pretty cool hat. He loses it when Rexy sneezes on him, which is tragic, but I did appreciate they did a similar one in Jurassic Park 3 and Jurassic World Dominion. A signature piece of clothing can be cheesy, but I'm fine with creating iconic looks for our film heroes. Grant wouldn't be Grant without that hat.
I mean, did they tell Picasso no brush?
Great adventure movies used to be designed around specific set pieces, often in a single location, and they took their time with each one. Think about how little movement and how much claustrophobia was involved in two of the film's most iconic scenes. Rexy attacking the tour vehicles, and the raptors stalking Lex and Tim through the kitchen. These scenes aren't done until they're good and done, and once they start, they rarely cut away. For contrast, consider the events of the 2015 sequel Jurassic World. I'm not going to pretend to dislike that movie just for being more infantile than the original, but it is notable how rapidly the film spans so many different locations, traversing from one end of the park to the other, and also how many short, punchy action sequences are peppered through it. While this style of action movie may give you that sugary rush in the theater, it tends to fade during repeat viewings, and that is why a lot of blockbusters don't hold up when you watch them again a few years later. It just goes to show how hard it is for sequels and remakes to really capture the enduring magic of the classic originals.
Want thingamabobs? I got 20. But who cares? No big deal.
Acting! Brilliant!
I want more.
You are just awful. You're one of the worst actors in the history of film, and I think that you need to go away.
Spielberg knew better. Rexy's escape and attack on the vehicles is almost 9.5 minutes of uninterrupted cinematic awesomeness, and Raptors hunting Lex and Tim in the kitchen is 3.5 minutes. Name the last time a Fast and Furious movie sat in one place for that long. Now, some of this decision-making is obviously based on prudent budgeting, because when you pay millions of dollars for Stan Winston to make a 40-foot-long, 17,000-pound, life-size animatronic of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, you're going to want to get at least 10 minutes of screen time out of that sucker. Even the finale is a relatively short chase sequence by modern standards, and again, it's mostly an action set piece centered around the two dinosaur skeletons in the visitor center. But when you look at how well these scenes still manage to rivet the attention of an audience 30 years later, you begin to realize that maybe we deserve more than the high fructose, physics-defiant, and psychedelic CGI syrup that we've been getting spoon-fed by modern blockbusters for the last few years. On the subject of CGI, obviously that was the most amazing part of Jurassic Park when it first came out, even though I believe there are only about 5 minutes of dinosaur footage that was digitally created. It's not an exaggeration to say that having lifelike dinosaurs walk across a film screen opened up a whole new world of movie magic in a way that has never been rivaled in the years before or since. However, the one thing that never ceases to amaze and occasionally infuriate me is that Jurassic Park is still a pinnacle of CGI in many ways. Every daylight shot of the dinosaurs is so clean and bright and beautiful that even the film's own sequels have had a hard time living up to them. This was most notable in Jurassic World, which fell into that stupid orange and blue color grading bullshit to the point that even the monitor screens and interior decor were orange and blue. I did a whole tangent on Daylight Your Dang Dinosaurs in my Dragonheart review, so the only thing I'll revisit here is that Jurassic Park remains the standard of CGI beauty, whether the dinosaurs were shown under a sunny sky or in a drenching midnight thunderstorm. I know there's a lot of people who are so deep-lored into fan theories that they can build entire YouTube channels around them, but that's never been a big part of my film-going experience. However, I will agree with the fan theorists on this one thing. Muldoon was way too cool to die, and he 100% survived his playful tussle with the big one, that cheeky little rapscallion. He might have picked up a scar or two, explaining, all the blood-curdling screams and whatnot, but he's still out there somewhere. Just like Tim Curry after the events of Congo. Come on, he walked that off.
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space!
Speaking of Congo, am I the only one who considers it to be canonical to Jurassic Park? Seriously, it fits in perfectly, at least as a distant cousin, and not just because both properties are based on Michael Crichton novels. They also have a perfectly aligned science fiction jungle adventure aesthetic, with the perfect mix of fun, horror, action, killer critters created by Stan Winston, and main characters who refer to one another as Doctor. There, that's my one shared cinematic universe fan theory. I want to see Project Amy teaming up with Blue in a crossover event to fight gray gorillas or whatever big baddie dinosaur turns up next.
Why?
Tell me that gorillas versus raptors wouldn't be a fun movie. Kind of the Micro Machines version of Godzilla versus Kong. It would be way more fun than Alien versus Predator. Dang right I'm doing a throwback to episode 1 and episode 30. Go back and rewatch that one if you think my current video editing skills are miserable.
Put him on the endangered species list.
Actually, I kind of needed Congo to be canonical to Jurassic Park, because I needed a replacement second movie in the series. I have no immediate plans to review any of the Jurassic Park sequels individually, but they're enough of an international phenomenon to merit a little of our time here. Putting it bluntly, to call the Jurassic Park franchise a mixed bag would be an understatement. I know the 3 Jurassic World films have gotten their share of hate from fans in the past few years, quite a bit of it justified, but to me, the only film in the series that I hated to the point of decanonization, with apologies to Steven Spielberg, was the first sequel in the original trilogy, 1997's The Lost World Jurassic Park, and more specifically, a quote-unquote good guy named Nick Van Owen. Now, I really like Vince Vaughn, especially in his more recent roles, but you do have to question his character's heroism after you realize that literally every death in that movie was his fault! Hey, let's cut the locks on those dinosaur cages. I'm sure that won't result in rampaging dinosaurs destroying every single vehicle and piece of communications equipment in the InGen camp, effectively stranding us all on Dinosaur Death Island 2 Electric Boogaloo. Hey, let's rescue this baby T-Rex. I'm sure that won't result in a well-meaning Richard Schiff getting eaten by angry Rexy parents while trying to save us. Hey, let's take the bullets out of Roland's 600 Nitro Express elephant gun. I'm sure that won't result in us being largely defenseless when the Rexy parents attack our camp, forcing the entire InGen party to flee into the long grass and get eaten by velociraptors. Screw you, 1990s Vince Vaughn! You have officially been replaced by Project Amy from Congo.
Ugly gorillas, ugly, go away.
So yes, when I binge the series, the viewing order is Jurassic Park, Congo, Jurassic Park 3, and the Jurassic World trilogy. Yes, it's largely a series of diminishing returns when watched in that chronological order, but not everything that I love can be the John Wick series or Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings.
Conflicted.
Could this movie be made today?
It ought to be me really going.
Why?
Well, I'm your,
Look,
Come on, let's go.
we can discuss sexism and survival situations when I get back.
Movie fails to ever return to the urgent discussion of sexism and survival situations, and it could even be argued that Ellie was employing good-natured sarcasm rather than flat-out saying, I'm 23 and fit, and you're a short, fat, bespectacled old Scotsman who hobbles around on a cane. Any CW or modern Star Trek show worth its salt would have done a breakstand on the entire plot until Ellie had put that old white guy in his place.
Down with the patriarchy.
Again, look, we'll have landed by the time you get it right. Come along.
Ignoring his girlfriend's advice, while logistically also leaving her completely untethered in a falling aircraft, Grant basically mansplains seatbelts to Ellie.
Buckle up, buckaroo!
By the way, Dr. Sattler, she's not, like, available, is she?
Why?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You two are,
Yeah.
The blue-haired people recently forced Sam Neill to apologize for what they deemed an inappropriate age gap relationship between 23-year-old Ellie and 43-year-old Grant back in 1993. However, the blue-haired people don't actually accept the apologies they so ravenously demand, so I'm afraid Sam Neill will have to be placed in an elevator shaft and fed to a literal army of vampires.
Cookie!
Hey.
You okay?
Hey, look at this. Wait, hey, watch. Hey, come
Despite
on.
the satanic blue-haired land whales protesting the age gap patriarchy of Ellie and Grant, they are simultaneously attempting to make minor attracted persons an unassailable protected class of saints on a par with drag queens or the life choices of George Floyd, so Grant's palpable disinterest in the smitten Lex isn't stunning and brave enough. No Oscar for you!
Nothing for you!
God creates dinosaurs. God destroys dinosaurs. God creates man. Man destroys God. Man creates dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs eat man. Woman inherits the earth.
The blue-haired people don't appreciate having their literal daily driving motivation reduced to a throwaway joke.
I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable.
That smug is directing the next Disney Star Wars movie. Good luck with that. Here's a more likable early 1990s Jennifer Connelly doing literally nothing. The movie sucked, but that white tank top was a damn hero.
And how do you know they can't breathe? Well, because all the animals in Jurassic Park are female.
Grant survives his own misogyny.
I'm gonna ride with Dr. Sadler.
Heteronormativity.
This plane's going to Miami!
I guess it means the power's off.
With that one oddly affectated line, American as apple pie actor Sam Neill commits blatant cultural appropriation against the sovereign nation of New Zealand. You want to just smear on a little shoe polish and do a minstrel show? I suppose the blue-haired people are just being nitpicky on that one. Even the greatest actors who have mastered all manner of international accents and affectations still flub their lines once in a while.
Action!
Girl and she was good, but one of her legs was made of wood. Her hair was false and her teeth was two, and there wasn't much to do. Turkey in the snow,
Action!
turkey in the hay. What did you say? Hey, Roland! Hit it up to concert.
Jurassic Park is a classic example of agenda-free filmmaking that can be universally enjoyed. Although I will say that if you really look into the whole birds or dinosaurs evidence, you'll find that it is a heck of a lot flimsier than a lot of paleontologists would have us believe. But yes, I get it. Satan has to get rid of that pesky Book of Genesis somehow. Whatever. The film's tagline was an adventure 65 million years in the making. I can still adore this movie, and I'm one of those Kim Jimmy quoting nutbags who believes the universe is only 6,000 years old. Anyway, should Christ tarry, I'll see you in the next video. Jesus loves you. Vote Lane for King of Canada. The notable absence of the industry-standard concrete security moats explicitly mentioned by Hammond as having been installed, which theoretically should have prevented every single bad thing in this franchise from ever happening, remains the single greatest plot hole in this movie to this day. And let's make movies great again. Normally at this point you'd see an animation of Laura Linney blasting a heterosexual gray gorilla with a laser gun. However, in honor of Pride Month, here's Laura Linney blasting a gay gorilla with a laser gun. Hashtag equality.
Put him on the endangered species list.
Oh no!
Why are you gay?
Come on, Monroe!
Come on, man.